Hello, my name is Celeste Medina, and I'm here to inform you on critical thinking in classrooms. By the end of my speech, I plan to inform you about the pros and cons of critical thinking in the classroom. Critical thinking doesn't mean we disparage everything. It means that we try to distinguish between the claims with evidence and those without. Daniel J. Levitin. In this speech, I hope to help you better understand the advantages and disadvantages of critical thinking in schools for children. Now, as a person who works at a middle school and currently goes to college, I have a first-hand information on what is currently being taught in the curriculum. I am here to inform you on the pros and cons of critical thinking in the classrooms. Critical thinking is something that needs to be used every single day of our lives, and is something that a person should have a general knowledge of. First, I plan to give you information on critical thinking and the process. Then I plan to talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of critical thinking in classrooms and schools. First of all, what is critical thinking and what is the process? So, critical thinking can have many definitions, but the most common definition of critical thinking is that it can be defined as judgment formed from intense and careful contemplation. The first step in critical thinking is to think actively, so meaning that you choose to do this. Choosing to think actively and choosing to critically think will allow you to be more effective when coming up with answers for any solution. The second step is asking questions. You need the ability to question everything. Since we now know what critical thinking is and the process, we can now move on to the advantages. So one of the advantages of critical thinking is children can improve their problem solving. Have you ever had a problem that you had difficulty coming up with a solution? Well, critical thinking can lead you to come up with a solution faster and more effectively. Another advantage of teaching critical thinking is that it can be conveyed into other subjects, therefore making it easier to understand more complex topics. Lastly, critical thinking can be a vital key in future career paths. Critical thinking is crucial in many careers, so learning it at a young age gives you the advantage of practicing critical thinking for an extended period of time. So now that we know the advantages, we can now think about the disadvantages. So one part, as I said before, of critical thinking is questioning. This can lead children and even adults to question only and almost everything. In doing so, it can cause children to develop trust issues in the future. Critical thinking can cause children to misunderstand, since it requires a child to make a decision based on their own judgment. Critical thinking can cause someone to develop egocentrism, which is when someone cannot differentiate between their own perspective and anyone else's. We have now gone over what critical thinking is and its disadvantages. I have now accurately informed you of the pros and cons of critical thinking in schools by giving information on critical thinking and the advantages and disadvantages. Are there any questions? Okay, so critical thinking is something that should be taken seriously and needs to be discussed more often. With this speech, I hope you were able to properly be informed of what critical thinking is and the disadvantages and advantages, and hope that you can critically think and determine what you think of this speech. Thank you.